I adjust the linen napkin for the third time, folding it into a perfect triangle before sliding it into the crystal water glass. My grandmother's china gleams under the dining room chandelier, bone white with delicate gold trim, each plate positioned exactly 1 inch from the edge of the table. The silverware lies perfectly parallel, spaced with mathematical precision. Perfect, as it should be, as I am expected to be. My hands tremble slightly as I place the final water glass. I pause, inhaling deeply to steady myself. Everything must appear normal tonight. The table setting is merely the opening act of a performance I've rehearsed for weeks. The memory flashes unbidden, standing in our walk-in closet 3 weeks ago, reaching for Jace's navy suit to send to the dry cleaners. The receipt that fluttered from his pocket. Oceanfront King Suite, Carmel Valley Lodge, $429 per night. Business expenses, naturally. Except his business meeting was supposedly in Sacramento. One small discrepancy that unraveled everything. The doorbell chimes, jarring me from the memory. I smooth my black dress, check my reflection in the hallway mirror, and open the door with a practiced smile. "Marin!" My half-sister Rowan sweeps in, trailing the scent of coconut and sea salt perfume. Her blonde hair falls in perfect waves, her boutique owner style impeccable as always. The table looks amazing. She kisses my cheek, her eyes already scanning the house. "Though I thought you said 8 people, the table's only set for 6. "Plans changed," I answer, taking her designer coat. "Smaller gathering." She studies me with slight confusion, then shrugs. "Well, intimate is always better. Is Jace home yet?" The casual mention of my husband's name sends a jolt through my chest. "Running late as usual. You know Jace and his client meetings." "I certainly do." The doorbell rings again. My mother, Evelyn, enters with her typical flair, wearing an emerald green dress that complements her silver hair. At 65, she commands attention in any room. "Darling," she says, kissing the air near my cheek. Her gaze immediately lands on the table setting. "You've put out the Haviland. Interesting choice. I would have used the Wedgwood for a dinner this important." Of course she would. Nothing I do quite measures up to her standards. "The Haviland was grandmother's favorite," I reply, voice deliberately light. "Yes, well," she inspects a fork. "I suppose tradition has its place." Rowan jumps in. "Mom, did you see the new spring collection at my boutique? The buyers from Nordstrom are considering picking up 3 pieces." "That's wonderful news." My mother beams, instantly animated. "I always said you had the business sense in this family." The front door opens without a knock. Jace, my husband of 8 years, enters, his confident stride carrying him directly to me. He's handsome in that conventional way that photographs well at charity events, strong jaw, kind eyes that crinkle when he smiles. Eyes that lie. "Sorry I'm late." He kisses my cheek, his cologne mingling with something else, something floral and familiar. Traffic was brutal coming from downtown. "Not downtown." I bite my tongue. "Perfect timing," I say instead. "We're just waiting for Talia." On cue, the doorbell rings. My best friend enters with a tall man I've never introduced to my family. "Everyone, this is Nash. He's a new waiter at Bellini's," Talia explains smoothly. "He's helping me tonight as a favor." Nash nods politely. Only Talia and I know he's actually a licensed private investigator who specializes in surveillance. We settle around the table, wine poured, appetizers served. Conversation flows with practiced ease. I maintain my roly attentive wife, dutiful daughter, supportive sister, while watching Rowan's eyes flit nervously to Jace whenever she thinks no one notices. "The boutique is doing amazingly well," Rowan announces, gesturing with her wine glass. "We've expanded to a 2nd location." "That's quite an investment," I comment. "Commercial real estate isn't cheap in La Jolla." "Good business sense pays off," my mother says with obvious pride. Rowan always had the business acumen in the family. Unlike me, the implication hangs unspoken. "Speaking of business," Jace interjects, "that conference in Carmel last month might lead to some exciting opportunities. The oceanfront setting really inspires creative thinking." Rowan's hand freezes mid-reach for her water glass. A flash of panic crosses her face before she recovers. "Carmel is beautiful this time of year," she murmurs. I check my watch discreetly. 8:59 p.m. Precisely as planned. "I'd like to propose a toast," I announce, rising from my seat. The crystal glass feels cool against my fingers as I lift it. "To family." I pause, meeting each pair of eyes around the table. And to truth. At exactly 9 p.m., Nash steps forward from his position by the kitchen door. "Mr. Sullivan," he says clearly, "you've been served." The confusion on Jace's face would almost be comical if it weren't breaking what's left of my heart. I walk calmly to the credenza and press a button on the remote control. The dining room television flickers to life, displaying crystal-clear security footage of the Carmel Valley Lodge. Jace and Rowan walk into frame, his hand resting possessively on the small of her back as they check in together. The dining room falls silent. Jace's face drains of color. Rowan's eyes fill with tears. My mother's sharp intake of breath cuts through the quiet. "Marin," Evelyn says, her voice tight with controlled panic, "you're making a terrible mistake." I look at the three people who should have loved me most, who instead conspired behind my back, and feel something hard and certain settle in my chest. "No," I reply, my voice steady for the first time in years. "I believe you three already made that mistake." The leather portfolio feels heavy in my hands, not from its physical weight, but from the devastating evidence inside. My fingers trace the embossed initials W.S. Walter Sullivan, the man I believed was my father. I'd received it as a law school graduation gift. "Before we move on to dessert," I say, my voice steadier than I feel, "I'd like to share some interesting financial documents." I spread them across the table with the precision of a dealer at a high-stakes poker game. Bank statements, transfer records, loan documents, a trail of betrayal printed in black and white. $72,000, I say, tapping a highlighted figure. "Transferred from our home equity line of credit to Coastal Boutique LLC over the past 3 years." Jace's face pales. He reaches for his water glass but knocks it over instead. Crystal shatters. Water pools on my grandmother's tablecloth. No one moves to clean it up. "Marin, I can explain," he stammers, voice cracking. "I was investing in family, in Rowan's future." Rowan's mascara leaves black tracks down her cheeks. "You don't understand how hard it is to start a business," she whispers. "The bank wouldn't approve my loan application." "So you convinced my husband to steal from our home instead?" The words taste bitter on my tongue. My mother's shock transforms before my eyes, from genuine surprise to calculated damage control. Her spine straightens. Her jaw sets. I recognize the look from childhood. It's the same expression she wore when explaining to neighbors why I wouldn't be attending the prestigious private school that had accepted me. "Too unconventional for Marin's sensitive nature," she'd said while enrolling Rowan there the following year. "Darling, business arrangements between family members are complicated," Evelyn says, reaching for my hand across the table. I pull back before she can touch me. "I'm sure Jace meant to discuss this with you." "For 3 years?" I turn to Nash. "Mr. Elliott, would you play recording number 2, please?" Nash nods and taps his phone. My mother's voice fills the dining room, crisp and clear. "We have to keep Marin compliant. She can't find out about the trust fund." Jace's response follows. "I'm handling it. She trusts me completely." My mother's laugh cold and dismissive. Well, she always did prefer comfortable illusions to uncomfortable truths. The recording ends. The silence that follows feels thick enough to cut with the unused dessert knives. Talia's hand rests on my shoulder, a quiet anchor in the storm. I didn't realize I was shaking until her touch steadied me. "That recording is illegal." My mother stands abruptly, lunging for my phone on the table. Nash intercepts her with a smooth, practiced movement. "California is a 2-party consent state for recordings," I say, the attorney in me taking over. But that particular conversation happened on the outdoor patio at La Valencia Hotel. Public space, no reasonable expectation of privacy, perfectly admissible. Jace stares at me as if seeing me for the first time. "How long have you been investigating us?" "Long enough to recognize the pattern." I meet each of their eyes in turn. "You're overthinking again, Marin. You always think everyone's out to get you. You've always been the dramatic one." I've heard these phrases so often I could recite them in my sleep. The comments seemed separate, harmless on their own. Together, they form the architecture of doubt they built around me. Nash clears his throat. "I'm Nash Elliott, licensed private investigator with Elliott Investigations. I've documented a pattern of financial misappropriation and personal betrayal spanning approximately 3 years. 3 years, I repeat. Exactly when Rowan's boutique opened." My sister flinches. The money, the affair, the lies, they didn't just happen. My voice remains level while something primal screams inside me. You didn't just betray my marriage. You betrayed my trust in all of you. From my portfolio, I withdraw a final document. The paper feels impossibly light for the weight of truth it carries. DNA test results, I explain, sliding them toward my mother. Walter Sullivan had type AB blood. Mine is type O. Biologically impossible for him to be my father. Evelyn's perfectly composed face crumples like tissue paper in rain. For once, the careful mask slips completely. Who? I ask. She shakes her head, tears spilling onto her emerald dress. 36 years, I say. You've been lying to me for 36 years. Rowan looks genuinely shocked. This, at least, was not part of their shared conspiracy. You didn't betray me today. I stand, gathering my evidence back into Walter's portfolio. You've been doing it my whole life. The dining room falls silent except for the sound of my mother's quiet weeping. For the first time in my life, the sound brings me no distress, no rush to comfort her. The burden of maintaining family peace lifts from my shoulders like a physical weight. I walk toward the door, Talia and Nash following behind me. The betrayers remain at the table, surrounded by the wreckage of china, crystal, and lies. Next day, morning light filters through the plantation shutters of my home office, casting ladder-like shadows across the polished mahogany desk. I sit surrounded by case files, manila folders, and legal pads, the familiar tools of my profession arranged in precise stacks. My phone rests on the corner of the desk, screen lit with notifications. 37 text messages, 16 voicemails, 4 email chains. I haven't opened a single one. The grandfather clock in the hallway chimes 9 times. I've been awake since 4, when sleep became impossible and the walls of our bedroom now felt like they were closing in. I escape to my office, to the comfort of legal precedent and clear boundaries. I click open my laptop, the familiar rhythm of my morning routine now foreign in this new reality. A fleeting moment of doubt washes over me. Did I go too far? Was the public humiliation necessary? The memory of Rowan's face when the hotel footage appeared answers my question. Not surprise guilt. She knew exactly what she was doing. The doorbell rings, pulling me from the thought. Through the window, I spot Talia's copper-colored SUV in the driveway. The scent of fresh coffee reaches me before she does, appearing in my doorway with 2 large cups and a determined expression. You look terrible, she says, placing 1 cup on my desk, which means you're holding up better than I expected. I accept the coffee, warming my hands around the cup. I haven't slept. Of course you haven't. Talia settles into the leather chair opposite my desk. No platitudes, no useless comfort. This is why she's been my friend for 15 years. You did what needed to be done. Did I? The question emerges before I can stop it. Marin, her voice sharpens. Don't you dare second-guess yourself, not after what they did. My phone buzzes again, screen illuminating with Rowan's name. I turn it face down. Nash called this morning, Talia continues, sipping her coffee. Jace cleared out his closet around midnight. He's staying at the Marriott downtown. And Rowan's boutique was dark when he drove by. No sign of her opening today. I nod, a small satisfaction blooming despite myself. The boutique my money helped build. Your husband's affair funded her dream, Talia says flatly, while you worked 70-hour weeks so they could play house in Carmel. The anger I've kept carefully contained begins to simmer again. I open my email, needing distraction, but find Evelyn's name at the top of my inbox. Subject line, Family Matters Private Discussion Required. I read it aloud to Talia. Marin, while I understand you're upset, there are more appropriate ways to address family concerns than the spectacle you created last night. We should discuss this privately, as a family, before irreparable damage is done. Your behavior suggests emotional instability that concerns me deeply. Talia snorts. Classic Evelyn. Make it about your mental state instead of their betrayal. My voicemail notification blinks. I press the speaker and Rowan's voice fills the room, thick with tears. Marin, please call me back. I know what we did was wrong, but it wasn't what you think. Jace and it just happened. We never meant to hurt you. Please, let me explain. I'm your sister. I delete the message before she can finish. Half-sister, I correct to the empty air. There's more, Talia warns, scrolling through her own phone. Jace is telling people you violated his privacy with illegal surveillance. He's threatening legal action. A bitter laugh escapes me. Let him try. Everything Nash did was completely legal. He knows that. He's just hoping to scare me. My office phone rings, the line connected to my law firm. I answer cautiously. Marin? It's Barbara Maxwell. My neighbor from 3 doors down and the wife of my firm's founding partner. I saw Evelyn at Starbucks this morning. She mentioned you're going through a difficult time. Something about a nervous breakdown? John and I are concerned. My fingers tighten around the receiver. Barbara, I appreciate your concern, but I'm perfectly fine. I've discovered some difficult truths about my marriage, but my mental health is intact. After assuring her I'll be in the office tomorrow, I hang up and meet Talia's gaze. She's already spinning the narrative, I say quietly, making me the unstable one. Of course she is. Talia leans forward. What's your counterattack? Silence. I close my laptop with a decisive click. For now, I have a meeting with Catherine Langford at 11. The divorce attorney? Smart. I need to see my father first. 2 hours later, I stand beside Walter Sullivan's grave in the veterans section of Cypress View Memorial. American flags dot the landscape, fluttering in the gentle June breeze. His headstone is simple: name, rank, dates. The man who raised me for 36 years, coached my softball games, helped with science projects, walked me down the aisle. Not my biological father. I place white roses on the granite marker, my throat tight. You were my real father in every way that matters. The cemetery remains silent except for distant traffic and the soft rustle of leaves. I kneel beside the headstone, brushing away fallen leaves with careful fingers. Do you remember when Tommy Reynolds pushed me down in 4th grade? I speak softly, as if Walter might hear me. You sat me down that night and told me that standing up for myself wasn't the same as starting a fight. The memory washes over me, Walter's patient voice, his weathered hands folded in his lap as he explained the difference between aggression and self-defense. Truth isn't always pretty, Marin, he had said, but it's always worth finding. I stand, brushing grass from my knees. I found it, Dad. I just wish you were here to help me carry it. The weight in my chest shifts, not lighter but somehow more balanced, more manageable. I straighten my shoulders and walk back to my car with purposeful steps. That evening, I sit at my dining room table, the scene of last night's revelation now transformed into a makeshift recording studio. A professional microphone stands before me, connected to my laptop. Talia watches from across the table as I adjust the settings on the recording software. Are you sure about this? She asks. I nod, placing headphones over my ears. People like my family count on silence. It's time to break it. I press record, and my attorney's voice emerges measured, factual, devoid of the trembling emotion that still occasionally threatens to overwhelm me. Welcome to the people who smiled while I sank. My name is Marin Sullivan. Last night I discovered that my husband of 8 years has been having an affair with my half-sister. But that's not the whole story. This podcast is about family betrayal, financial exploitation, and the path forward when the people you trusted most prove themselves unworthy of that trust. I speak for 20 minutes, laying out the facts without embellishment or accusation. The affair, the financial deception, the gaslighting that made me question my own instincts for years. The paternity revelation that rocked the foundation of my identity. When I finish recording and upload the first episode, I expect to feel exposed, vulnerable. Instead, a curious lightness settles over me. The truth no longer feels like a burden I'm carrying alone. By morning, my inbox contains dozens of messages from strangers sharing similar stories of betrayal and recovery. The podcast is trending locally in San Diego. A cousin texts to say he heard Evelyn's tennis friends discussing it at the club. The silence is broken, and in its place, I find my voice. The first call comes at 6:17 a.m., 3 days after the dinner. Uncle Frank's number flashes on my screen. A man who sends Christmas cards but hasn't spoken directly to me in years. Marin, he starts, his voice carrying that particular tone reserved for wayward children. Your mother is devastated. I place my coffee mug on the kitchen counter with deliberate care. Is she? This isn't like you. The podcast, the public accusations. This isn't how our family handles things. Our family. As if that still exists. How does our family handle things, Uncle Frank? By stealing from each other? By sleeping with each other's spouses? My voice remains level, a skill honed through years of courtroom testimony. A heavy sigh travels through the phone. You're not thinking clearly. Your mother only wants what's best for you. She made that clear when she lied about who my father was for 36 years. The silence stretches between us. I end the call before he can respond. By noon, 4 more relatives have called. By evening, my inbox contains 27 messages from extended family, each one an identical blend of concern and recrimination. The law firm corridors feel different now. Colleagues who once sought my advice suddenly find urgent business elsewhere when I approach. At the partners' lunch, 2 empty chairs bracket mine like parentheses. Barbara canceled, my assistant murmurs, sliding a folder across my desk, and Thomas had an emergency client meeting. Both had enthusiastically RSVP'd yesterday. I open my laptop and find an email from a longtime client. Considering our options for representation going forward. No explanation needed. Evelyn serves on the board of his family foundation. My phone chimes with a notification. Rowan has posted new merchandise on her boutique's Instagram, Family First, emblazoned across cotton t-shirts in delicate script. Because loyalty matters more than anything. The irony would be laughable if it weren't so calculated. That evening, Talia forwards a text from our mutual friend Caroline. Jace says Marin is having some kind of breakdown. We're all so worried. I stare at the phone, watching Jace's campaign unfold with textbook precision, character assassination disguised as concern, sympathy-seeking wrapped in worry. The playbook I'd watched my mother use for decades. Time for the countermove. I tell Nash over coffee the next morning. He raises an eyebrow. The podcast? Episode 2. We record today. The studio is small but professional, walls covered in sound-dampening panels. I adjust my microphone, notes arranged before me, as Dr. Leanne Howard settles into the chair opposite. The respected psychologist specializes in family trauma. Today we're discussing gaslighting and emotional manipulation within families. I begin, voice steady. When those closest to you use your trust against you. Dr. Howard leans forward. Gaslighting is particularly devastating when perpetrated by family members because we're biologically wired to trust our kin group. The conversation flows naturally, 2 professionals discussing manipulation tactics I recognize from my own life. You're overreacting. You've always been too sensitive. No one will believe you anyway. Nash joins for the second segment, sharing cases of financial abuse in relationships. The control of resources is about power, not money. He explains. It's designed to keep the victim dependent. I don't mention Jace or Rowan or my mother by name. I don't have to. The patterns speak for themselves. By evening, the episode has 20,000 downloads. By morning, 75,000. By week's end, it's featured on 3 national women's empowerment platforms. Silence protects the wrong people. I say in the final segment, words I've rehearsed countless times. When you speak truth, you reclaim your own voice. The fallout is swift and satisfying. 2 of Jace's largest clients put their contracts under review. The bank opens an investigation into potentially unauthorized fund transfers from our joint accounts. The local business journal runs a small notice about foreclosure proceedings against Rowan's boutique expansion. My mother's name disappears from the patron list of the arts foundation she's served on for 20 years. Meanwhile, my own practice thrives. 3 new clients seek me out specifically because of the podcast, each escaping financial entanglements with controlling partners. I begin specializing in a field I understand too well. The call comes exactly 1 week after the second episode airs. Evelyn's number. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Marin. Her voice breaks on my name. We need to talk. I believe we said everything at dinner. Please, just coffee, somewhere public. A pause. I just want my daughter back. 2 days later, the coffee shop is neutral territory, equidistant between our homes. I arrive 10 minutes early, claiming a corner table with clear sightlines to the door. She appears precisely on time, dressed in understated beige, her silver hair artfully arranged. No jewelry except her wedding band, the picture of maternal restraint. Thank you for coming, she says, settling opposite me. Her eyes are rimmed red, tissues clutched in one manicured hand. I say nothing, waiting. I made mistakes, she continues. Terrible ones. But I've always loved you, Marin. Always wanted what was best. The speech continues, perfectly calibrated to hit every emotional note: the wounded mother, the family peacemaker, the victim of circumstance. "Excuse me," I say when she pauses for breath. "Restroom." In the small bathroom, I splash cold water on my face. As I reach for a paper towel, Evelyn's purse left behind on the counter chimes with an incoming message. The screen lights up automatically. From Rowan. "Did she buy it? We need to get ahead of this podcast situation before." I don't read the rest. Don't need to. When I return to the table, Evelyn dabs her eyes with a tissue. "As I was saying, we just want our family back together." I gather my coat and bag. "Don't bother crying, Mother. I already recorded your greatest performance." Her face freezes mid-sorrow. "For the next podcast episode," I add, though there is no recording. "The one about false reconciliations." I walk out into sunlight, leaving her with her cold coffee and colder calculations, feeling something like peace steal over me for the first time in months. Next week, the cream envelope sits on my desk like a snake coiled to strike. Rowan's looping handwriting sprawls across the front my name in her familiar cursive that always tilted just a bit too far right, as if her words were perpetually falling forward. I trace my fingertip along the sealed edge, feeling the expensive cotton paper she favors for her boutique's thank you notes. Next to it lies the formal letter from Jace's attorney, threatening defamation action if I release another podcast episode. The legal jargon is impeccable, each paragraph designed to intimidate with references to irreparable harm and malicious intent. I almost admire the craftsmanship. My phone buzzes with a text from Carol Jenkins, who sits on 3 charity boards with my mother. "Evelyn looked absolutely devastated at church yesterday. The pastor is concerned about you, Marin. Maybe you could call him?" I place the phone face down without responding. The third act of their performance is right on schedule. The intercom buzzes. "Mrs. Westbrook is here to see you," my assistant announces. Talia enters carrying 2 coffee cups and wearing a look of concern. "Another flying monkey arrived?" she asks, nodding toward my phone. "Carol Jenkins this time. Apparently, Mother has recruited our pastor." Talia hands me a coffee. "Your mother works faster than FEMA after a hurricane." And leaves similar destruction. I sip the coffee, letting the bitter warmth ground me. Rowan wrote. I tap the envelope. "Are you going to read it?" My finger slides under the flap, breaking the seal with a satisfying tear. The scent of her perfume wafts up coconut and sea salt, the same fragrance she wore the night she sat across from me at my dinner table while sleeping with my husband. I unfold the heavy stationery and read the first line. "Marin, I know words can never undo what happened, but you've always been more than a sister to me." The memory crashes over me like a wave me 16th birthday. Mother had promised a small celebration dinner, just family. I'd spent the afternoon preparing, baking my own cake because I wanted it to be perfect. 8 o'clock came and went. 9, 10. Near midnight, they finally arrived, Mother and 14-year-old Rowan, flushed with excitement from a surprise trunk show at a boutique downtown. "We lost track of time," Mother explained while Rowan modeled her new sundress. My birthday went unmentioned. The cake sat untouched in the refrigerator, where I found it the next morning with a note from Mother. "Too many calories anyway, dear." Another memory surfaces me law school graduation. Standing on the steps of Stanford Law, searching the crowd for my family. Finding them eventually, Rowan holding court among my classmates, Mother beaming beside her. "Your sister is considering fashion merchandising," Mother told my constitutional law professor, so much more creative than legal work. And finally, my wedding day. Rowan as my maid of honor, adjusting my veil in the church dressing room. "Are you sure about that hairstyle?" she'd asked. "It's a bit severe for a bride." Later that night, I overheard her telling Jace, "My sister has always settled for safe choices. I'm glad she finally found someone exciting." I stand and walk to the small fireplace in the corner of my office, a luxury perk of making partner last year. With deliberate movements, I light a match and touch it to the gas starter. The flame catches immediately, blue at its core with orange licking upward. "Marin?" Talia watches, her coffee cup suspended halfway to her mouth. I hold Rowan's letter over the flame, watching as the corner blackens, curls, and ignites. The fire consumes her words quickly, erasing whatever justifications or manipulations she's crafted without my eyes ever seeing them. Some truths don't need to be heard. I say, watching the paper disintegrate into ash. They just need to burn. The letter crumbles into black flakes that drift down into the fireplace. I brush a speck of ash from my fingertips. Talia sets down her cup. I've never seen you so calm. Because I finally understand something. I return to my desk and open my laptop. Their power only existed because I gave it to them. My podcast interface glows on the screen. Episode title, How to Rebuild After Betrayal. The red record button pulses, waiting. Are you sure about this final episode? Talia asks. Jace's lawyer. Can't do anything about verifiable facts. I position my microphone. The bank's formal investigation announcement goes public tomorrow. Jace's company called this morning. He's been placed on administrative leave pending review. And Rowan? Her landlord called me looking for her. The boutique's been emptied overnight. Space is already listed for lease. Talia sits forward. Your mother? I pull up the local newspaper's website. The Community Voices section features Evelyn's letter prominently, the headline reading, A Mother's Plea for Forgiveness and Family Healing. She's playing her final card. I click the record button, but I'm not playing anymore. The podcast intro music fills my headphones. My voice flows with a steadiness that would have been impossible months ago. Welcome to the final episode of The People Who Smiled While I Sank. Today we're discussing how to rebuild when the foundation you thought was solid turns out to be quicksand. Talia gives me a thumbs up as I speak. My phone buzzes with another text, then another. I ignore them all. When I finish recording, Nash calls with his final report. Case closed successfully, he says. The bank has all they need for potential criminal charges on the financial aspects. Thank you for everything, Nash. After hanging up, I open my checkbook and write a substantial donation to the Family Healing Center, adding a note, in memory of Walter Sullivan, who showed me what true family means. I hand the check to Talia. Would you make sure this gets delivered today? She studies my face. You're really done with them, aren't you? The weight that has pressed on my chest for years feels suddenly lighter. No, I correct her. I'm finally beginning with me. At the present, the morning joggers nod as I pass, their familiar faces now part of my peaceful routine through Balboa Park. My shoulders no longer hunch against imagined criticism. My stride carries confidence I forgot I possessed. 1 year later, and I still marvel at how differently my body moves through the world. A mother and daughter share a bench near the rose garden, heads bent together over what appears to be wedding photos. The daughter gestures excitedly while her mother nods, genuine delight lighting her weathered face. Their laughter drifts across the path. A familiar ache surfaces. Brief. Expected. Then it dissolves like morning fog. I grieved what I never had more than what I lost. My home office reflects this new understanding. Gone are the suffocating legal briefs that once towered on every surface. Instead, framed photos line the simplified desk, Talia grinning at our pottery class. My support group celebrating Margaret's 1-year milestone. Nash at the legal foundation's ribbon cutting, his rare smile caught mid-laugh. The china cabinet holds my grandmother's Haviland now, not hidden away for special occasions that never seemed special enough, but displayed where morning light catches the delicate gold trim. Every day deserves beauty. My journal lies open to yesterday's entry. Therapy session focused on boundary maintenance. Dr. Chen notes my progress in recognizing manipulation attempts, without emotional reactivity. The phone calls from extended family have stopped entirely. Relief, not loneliness, fills that silence. Small symbols of reclamation scatter throughout the room. The pearl earrings rest in their proper jewelry box instead of being clutched like talismans. Walter's business card from his construction company sits in a simple frame. Sullivan and Sons, it reads. Though he never had biological sons, he claimed me anyway. The contrast strikes me daily. This peaceful solitude versus the anxious compliance that once defined my existence. No one questions my choices here. No one measures my worth against impossible standards. My phone buzzes with updates I no longer seek but occasionally receive. Jace relocated to Phoenix, rebuilding his marketing practice from scratch. Rowan works retail at a department store, her boutique dreams requiring more integrity than she possessed. Evelyn maintains her La Jolla address, but her social calendar reflects her diminished standing. I feel no satisfaction in their struggles. Revenge tastes bitter when you no longer hunger for it. Their growth matters more than their suffering. Whether they achieve it remains their choice, not my responsibility. Evening brings me to the beach where this journey began. Waves crash against the shore with the same rhythm that once provided my only peace. Now they offer accompaniment to contentment. I slip the wedding ring from my finger. Kept on throughout the legal proceedings, it feels strange to remove now. Not painful. Strange. Like taking off shoes after a long day. A week later, a small wooden box holds other symbols of my former life. The hotel receipt that started everything. A photo from our wedding day where my smile never reached my eyes. Evelyn's last manipulation attempt. A Christmas card signed, "Your loving mother," as if love could be declared rather than demonstrated. I dig a shallow hole in the sand, place the box carefully inside, and cover it as the tide approaches. Not bitter ceremony, but simple release. The ocean will claim what it will. My legal foundation for victims of financial exploitation opens next month. Nash has agreed to serve on the advisory board. 3 attorneys have already joined our team, each carrying their own stories of betrayal and recovery. New relationships form with deliberate authenticity. Michael from law school calls weekly now, our friendship rekindled on honest ground. Eleanor next door brings soup when I work late, expecting nothing in return but company. The support group has become chosen family, bonded by shared understanding rather than shared DNA. Occasional pangs of family loss still surface. During holidays. When I see fathers walking daughters down aisles, when mothers and daughters laugh together on park benches, I acknowledge these moments without letting them dominate. Some families we're born into, others we build. The tide reaches my feet as I stand watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of possibility. Tomorrow I'll return to meaningful work. Tonight I'll read beside the fireplace, listening to the silence that no longer frightens me. I don't need their forgiveness. I needed to hear myself again, and now I do.